the Cold Steel Finhawk. Basic specs on here. We've got an overall length of 8.5 inches, a blade length of 4 inches even, and the blade thickness is 2.7 millimeters. This is Scandinavian grind, and this is German 4116 steel. So right away, looking at the blade profile, you can see that we have a completely flat blade spine, no drop. And what that does is that allows the edge to have to come up to meet it, giving you a little more belly than you would have in a drop point knife. Both knife styles have their advantages. Having a little extra belly is always nice if you're skinning animals or dressing game, that kind of thing. But it also works for woodwork too. In those longer sweeping cuts, it follows that sweeping motion and continues your cut, and so it feels good for those. This one has a I'm not sure the exact angle on the Scandinavian grind here, but it's ground pretty high, and so you have a nice tall grind there, and it slices in and it cuts deep. I was pulling away quite a bit of material when I was working with it, when I was doing deep cuts. Made it nice to work with. The handle material on this is a 2-layer system. There's a high impact polypropylene that's molded around the blade, and then over that it's encased in a thermoplastic rubber. And that thermoplastic rubber around the outside gives a little more of a grippiness to it, and it also is coated with these little horizontal kind of wavy lines on there to give it a little more texture. One thing that I found interesting when I was doing tests with it in the water and in the mud, I noticed that although a lot of those features did contribute to its grippiness, what I found was really keeping me secure was this slight indentation that runs most of the length of the blade here. Now what happened was once my hands were wet and muddy and I was working with this, when it really started to need a little more grip, I found that my fingers, mostly my middle finger and my ring finger, found that little indentation and kind of were able to lock into there. So it's a very subtle feature. You don't notice it most of the time when you're using it, but it works pretty well at what it's doing. Now the other thing is back here on the back of the handle, there's a little indentation here. Works great for a reverse grip. Not something I use a ton for bushcraft things, but every now and then you need to spike this into a log if you're doing pole cuts that way, or splitting roots, just different things you want to have the knife fixed and move the object that you're cutting with. So and it doesn't get in the way of anything else, so it's not a bad feature to have on there. The sheath is going to be similar to what we've seen with the Mora sheaths. Little molded clip here on the back, some breathing room around the blade, drain hole in the bottom. It clicks in there pretty well. Actually, really good retention here. One thing I would have liked to see here is a thumb ramp like we have on the Moras that lets you draw this one-handed. It's a little hard to draw it one-handed, especially because it's got a good amount of retention on there. So what I usually had to do is grab the sheath with one hand and draw it with the other. Not too big of a deal, but it is nice to have the option to single hand draw your knife from time to time.